Imagine waking up every night to the screams of a dead person, screams that you only hear in your dreams. A terrifyingly imaginative idea. One morning in 1977, her sister, Alberta Remi Jo, covered in blood and terrified, finds in her dream her late friend, Teresita Bassa, a disfigured individual, her eyes shining. Teresita was trying to say something serious, something about her death. The nightmare recurs night after night, becoming more intense and more insistent. One night, Teresita breaks her silence, reveals the name of her killer, and exposes his secret. This dream was not ordinary. It was not just a nightmare. It was a gateway to uncovering a mysterious and terrifying crime. Follow the story to discover how a fleeting glimpse can hold the key to solving the serial killer's mystery. The killer thought he would remain free. One morning in 1977, American nurse Remi Jo woke up with a clear expression of gloom and sadness on her face. When her husband asked her why she was upset, she told him that her friend Teresita Bassa had visited her in a dream. In vain, her husband tried to console her by saying that they were just nightmares, but Remi was never convinced by this talk. She believed that what she saw in her dream was not just a coincidence or a passing nightmare, and she was certain that her deceased friend and colleague, who the police had found murdered in her apartment only 2 weeks ago, was trying to send her a specific message. In the following nights, Remi saw her friend repeatedly in her dreams, and those dreams became clearer and more detailed. They seemed like shots from a movie in which Teresita was standing in the middle of her apartment completely naked, her body covered with some burns and a large knife stuck in her chest. She was talking to a man wearing a work uniform. Remi recognized that he was a black man from the color of his hands, but she could not see his face because he was standing with his back to her. Then, suddenly, Teresita stopped talking to the man and put her hands on his shoulder, then turned him slowly to face Remi. As soon as the man turned around, Remi recognized him immediately. He was the maintenance worker at the hospital where she worked, named Aline Choueri. At this very moment, suddenly a fire breaks out all over the place, and Teresita screams loudly. So Remi wakes up from her sleep in a panic, trembling with fear. The next day, her husband tells her that he heard her raving and talking during the night, saying, "I am Teresita Bassa. I want you to inform the police. My killer is called Aline. He stole my jewelry. He gave some of it to his girlfriend." Finally, the couple decides to resort to the police, so Remi calls them and tells them the details of her strange dream. Of course, they did not take her words seriously at first, but her accurate description of what Teresita looked like during the dream caught the attention of some investigators, as her description was completely identical to what her body looked like when the police found it at the crime scene. She was completely naked, her body covered with some burns, and a large knife had been stuck in her chest. So, out of curiosity, one of the investigators visited Aline Choueri in his apartment just to ask him about his relationship with Teresita. Alan seemed shocked by this sudden visit. He started to stutter and hesitate in his speech, and he implicitly admitted to visiting Teresita in her apartment on the day of her murder in order to fix her TV. But he denied any connection to the circumstances of her death. Alan's confusion and his admission to visiting the victim's apartment on the night of her murder. All of this made suspicions surround him, so the detectives began to monitor him around the clock, and the investigators visited his girlfriend because Teresita told Remi in a dream that Alan had given some of the stolen jewelry as a gift to his girlfriend, and Then that girlfriend quickly confessed that Alan had indeed given her a jeweled ring a short time ago, and it turned out that that ring was among the jewelry stolen from Teresita's apartment. When surrounded by the damning evidence that incriminated him, Alan finally confessed to committing the murder and told the investigators that Teresita Bassa, 49 years old, had summoned him to her apartment on the day of the crime to fix her TV. So he attacked her by surprise and by raping her first before stabbing her to death. Then he proceeded to steal her money and jewelry and set fire to the apartment to remove criminal suspicion from the incident. But fate willed that the fire would extinguish on its own without causing significant damage to the crime scene. In 1979, Aline Choueiri was tried for the murder of nurse Teresita Bassa. The dream story aroused astonishment and bewilderment among all those in court, and some considered it evidence of heavenly justice. But human justice, unfortunately, disappointed all hopes, as Aline Choueiri only received a reduced conviction of 14 years in prison. She appeared in the dream to guide them to her body. They found the body inside a sewage treatment tank. For 6 months, the children of Nympha de Jaya did not stop thinking about their missing mother for a moment and asking about her mysterious fate. They could never believe what their father Fermin said about her departure and fleeing from home. Impossible. Their caring mother, who sacrificed everything precious and valuable throughout her life, for yes, her 8 children, how could she have abandoned them? It is impossible for her to do that. But Father Fermin insisted on his story. He told everyone that his wife had abandoned him and gone into the unknown. So suddenly, and without any warning, and in fact, it was not surprising or unlikely for some neighbors, and really, those who know the family well. Nympha suffered for many years from the reckless behavior of her drunken husband, who kept hurting and beating her. Things between the couple became very tense recently after Nympha discovered that her husband had raped her younger sister, so she insisted on supporting her sister in filing a lawsuit against him. Questions about Nympha's disappearance and the many question marks surrounding her mysterious fate increased steadily after the death of her youngest son in a car accident. How could it be possible that one of her sons died and she did not return home? Something must have happened to her that prevented her from attending. But what was the nature of this symptom? No one knows. At that very time, a neighbor named Alejandro Amoy had a very strange dream in which he saw Nympha leading him to the sewage treatment tank near his house and insistently asking him to open it. At first, Alejandro did not pay much attention to the dream and quickly forgot about it. But only a few days later, Nympha's eldest daughter called him and told him that she had seen her mother in a dream, leading her to the sewage tank near his house and asking her to open it. The two were shocked and astonished by the similarity of their dreams, so Alejandro decided to open the tank and search it with the help of some of Nympha's neighbors and relatives. And how great was everyone's astonishment when they found a decomposed human body inside the tank. And immediately, one of Nympha's sons recognized the body, as the dress she was wearing was the same dress that his mother was wearing on the night of her disappearance. It was definitely Nympha's body, and of course all fingers of accusation were pointed. In her murder, her husband Firmin was quickly arrested by the police and is now in a Philippine prison awaiting just retribution.